trying to see something real quick.
Check the audio.
I'm just turning up the exposure just a little bit. It's still f2.8, but I use the EV just so we were really red and it was really dark. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Lanier. I'm the guy who did the 10 reasons video why I switched from Nikon to Sony. That video created a little bit of a stir within the photography community. And so it really resonated with people. It stirred a great debate between photographers, some who are really upset that myself and others are going over to mirrorless, and some who love mirrorless and are seeing the future and are moving over. There's been tons of positive comments, and I get emails all the time from people saying, or messages saying, I switched because of you, I love it, thank you so much, you inspired me, so on and so forth. And to those people I say thank you. So I get a lot of positive feedback, which is awesome, and of course, anytime you get positive feedback, you're going to get negative. And which is fine, it's fine. I think it's healthy for us to have a debate. Sometimes people aren't civil at all, but that's fine, you know, I can't control what people do online. But I wanted to do a follow-up video based on some of the comments that have been put on that video, posted on that video, as well as other videos that have been made in response to my video, to address some of the criticisms and to address some of the counter-arguments to what I proposed. First and foremost, I want to make something clear. I made that video not as a review of Sony cameras. People say, oh, well, in a review you should include the pros and the cons. It wasn't a review, guys. It was why I left. That's just as simple as it gets. I did not expect the video to be this popular. I didn't. The video is incredibly popular, and that's because of the interest in mirrorless. And so when that video hit and everything started happening with it, it really set off a firestorm of events changing in my life. So I want to start off by saying something. I want to explain this ahead of time. I bought my mirrorless cameras, my Sonys, in July. It's now towards the end of June, and so it's been about a year that I've been shooting Sony. I shot for a good 4 months before I even thought about making the change, good 3-4 months, and then I finally decided to make the change, and in October I made a video, the 10 reasons video, and all that video was explaining to my followers as to why I was leaving. It was that simple. It wasn't because I was getting questions. You guys, Jason, you're such an ardent Nikon supporter, why would you leave? And that was really why the video was made. Now, I'm going to address several things, but the first and foremost is, yes, I am now a Sony artisan of imagery, and let me explain how that happened. I made the video. 2 weeks after the video came out and started really picking up traction, one of the reps he does conventions, and he's not in the headquarters of Sony by any means. He's in Canada, and he reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to do some speaking gigs for us at some point in time? And I said, sure, I'd love to. And so he and I got together on the phone and just started talking back and forth, very brief. And he says, hey, if you don't mind, I want to share your video with the US team. And I said, oh, that'd be fantastic. I'd love for you to do that. He shared it with the US team. The US team called me. They said, hey, we love your video. We watched it in Japan. We were dying over it. We thought it was fantastic. So, well, thank you so much. And then they said, hey, we should come down and speak. So in early December, I went down and I met with the Sony team. And over the course of lunch at a little eatery right outside of Sony headquarters, which happens to be 35 minutes from my house, and I did not know that ahead of time. I drove down there, we had lunch, and within about a week of that, they offered me the honor of being named one of the Sony Artisans of Imagery. Now I'm going to make something abundantly clear for the people who are misguided, and I don't say this in a mean way, but for those of you who are ignorant, or not ignorant in a bad way, but who are uneducated about how this works. Me being a Sony Artisan of Imagery, I don't get a salary, I don't get paychecks, I don't get anything like that. There's no monetary value associated. When people say I was paid off, it's truly, I don't even get mad at it because it's people who really just don't know how these things work. I have several sponsors, many sponsors. I have 4 or 5. Some of them I get a commission when you buy a light or you buy a bag or whatever it might be. From Sony, I get no commission. I've said it a million times. I wish I did. That 10 Reasons video has sold a ton of cameras. And if I got a commission, I probably could retire right now, no joke. It's just not the way Sony works. So I just want you guys to understand that. So why would I want to be an artisan? It's an honor. I mean, who wouldn't want to be an artisan? Who wouldn't want to be an artisan? Between Canon, Nikon, and Sony, there's what, 100 or less ambassadors in the entire world. What photographer wouldn't want to have that honor? Now, there may be a few out there, but the vast majority of you guys, if you search your soul, you would love the opportunity. When they came and asked me to do that, it was an honor. So I just wanted to make that very, very clear. It had absolutely nothing to do with money, and it continues to have nothing to do with money. Now, in all transparency, there are times that I speak for Sony, Rotolite, Interfit, and I will do speaking engagements. For those, the sponsors will compensate you. Now, just to be candid, it's not a ton of money. It's not. Really, with the way sponsorships work and the way that they're lucrative for the photographer is if we get out there and we use that connection with them to promote ourselves. Guys, that's how it works. So I just want to make that abundantly clear so you guys understand how these things work. There's a huge misconception in the industry how sponsorships work, and I think sometimes photographers are under the impression that once somebody's sponsored, they're a millionaire, and nothing could be further from the truth. Now, I'm going to get into the video now that I've explained it. We're going to hope the internet works in here. We're in the middle of an abandoned place. This video is by one of my super fans, and I am very grateful to him for making this video because it gives me the opportunity to address some of the counter arguments that people have regarding Sony and mirrorless, and it gives me the opportunity to address it in a way to where, and I'll link to his video, to where you guys can actually hear what I have to say and some of the rebuttals that I have to some of the arguments. I think a lot of folks are mad that I switched from Nikon to Sony, not because me personally switching, but when somebody switches, it's kind of like we just lost somebody to Sony. Regardless of who it is, you don't want to lose a member of your team, and I get that. So I understand if former Nikon team members across the world are, bummed that some of us are leaving, or Canon people are bummed that some people are leaving, but that's just the way it is sometimes. I'm excited that Sony's doing what they're doing, but more importantly, I'm more excited about the technology that's getting cranked out, regardless of the name that's on the camera. We as photographers need the technology more than we need the brand. So whatever brand's going to give us the technology is who's going to get my business. It's just that simple. So let me go ahead and have a conversation with this gentleman, and you guys will be able to hear it because I'm mic'd right here. And let's get to it.
Hello, boys and girls. Gonna do a little video here that like 100 people have asked me to do. What do you think about mirrorless? What do you think about mirrorless? What do you think about mirrorless? Well, it's certainly an authentic question. So, I'm also going to point to a video from a true sellout. I mean, it's probably the worst sellout video on YouTube.
That's mine.
And I'm not attacking his photography. I think his photography is actually wonderful.
Thank you.
But let's talk about mirrorless, and let's talk about who's being a sellout.
I told you he was a
I can
fan.
use some more appropriate words, but I'll try to keep it tame in this video.
Thank you.
So, what's the great deal? Obviously, this is a mirrorless camera. I've had an A7 II and the other Sony 600. I had the A7 II for a little over a month. I returned it. Just absolutely horrific. I mean, it was just like I was using a point and shoot with.
All right, so let me stop it there. I'm just going to talk to him. Now, I'm stopping only so you guys can, hear my response, and so we're not talking over each other. One thing that I want to make clear is when I give people advice, more than most photographers, more than almost any photographer out there, I have more experience with DSLR and with mirrorless compared to most. There are some other guys out there who've been on the mirrorless bandwagon and shot DSLR for years and years and years. But folks like this is kind of what I'm talking about when someone says mirrorless sucks. He admitted he's used it for at the max a month. So you gotta understand when someone's giving you advice, they're not nearly as educated on the matter as somebody like me is. So just wanted to make that point.
Expensive lenses that I had to adapt. Just can't stand them. Ultimately, there's nothing wrong with mirrorless, but I absolutely hate and despise them. There's a lot of reasons to hate and despise mirrorless. And let's talk about some of these people that are being paid and pimped by Sony on YouTube and other places that they live.
As far as I know, and I don't have access to all of the artisan agreements within Sony, nobody's paid or pimped. If one of my fellow artisans is getting paid or pimped, please tell me how to make it happen. Because I want to make money. I'm in this to make money, guys. I mean, I love photography. I don't think anybody can say that they would exceed the passion that I exude when I'm shooting. You guys watch my videos, but this is a business. I mean, this is a business. It's how we support our families. So I certainly wouldn't allow myself to be pimped. And I certainly wouldn't endorse or support a product that I didn't wholeheartedly agree in, which I do, by the way, with Sony. But nobody's paid or pimped.
They literally own them heart and soul. They got a dog leash right around their frigging neck.
The only person that owns me is God, not a company. Know that.
One thing you'll notice about the mirrorless people that praise them the most, and they'll actually admit this, that superficially they're awesome, but intrinsically they suck ass. I mean, you look at the camera, it's like, oh god, let's just pretend this is an A7 II, which is about 20% larger. That's, oh my god, look at this little this little mirrorless camera, you know, interchangeable lenses, and I've got all sorts of stuff I can do with it. You know, I got electronic viewfinder and tilt screen and focus peaking and zebra, and I've got Wi-Fi upload to my phone, and you know, I can like instantly link my pictures to my Facebook. But Jesus Christ,
You should watch your language.
the one thing they'll actually admit is that they will say that DSLRs, even if it's like a 5000 series, the DSLRs is more camera than I need. They'll admit this.
I've never in my life admitted that the D5000 or whatever is more camera than I need. I'm going to get into this a little bit later on because I've watched this a few times so I could understand what he's saying to me, but it's a matter of picking the right camera. Please understand that. When you're talking about these cameras, I think sometimes we are sold a bill of goods. We are sold that we need everything, and I think that that's what's changing most in the industry is the fact that we don't need everything. You don't need a $5,000 camera with weather sealing for Antarctica. You don't. How many of us shoot in Antarctica? Less than 1% of photographers in the world. That's just a point that I'm trying to make. Mirrorless cameras are about options, and it's about picking the right camera for you. I want to make something clear. Mirrorless cameras are not for everyone. I'm not trying to purport that they are. But to say that they're not for some people and that a Nikon D5000 series body can do 10 times more, or later on he says 1,000 times more than a mirrorless, that is just, that's a misguided statement. Be nice.
And the people that actually love mirrorless over DSLR have, and this is a bold statement, no matter what I say in this video, everybody's going to be pissed. They'll actually say that the DSLRs, you know, it's too much for them. They have no real skills in true DSLR manipulation. And
So earlier on, at the beginning of the video, he said that I was a wonderful photographer. Later on in the video, he actually goes on to praise my photography again. So if I am a wonderful photographer who shot for 7 years with DSLR, but now I shoot with mirrorless, I know how to work a DSLR. So it has absolutely nothing to do with not being able to handle a DSLR. I literally made the choice that a mirrorless for me was a far better camera.
that's a valid argument. If someone's wanting to take a picture of the dog and they want a great shot with multimetering and decent autofocus, I say decent, then mirrorless is the way to go.
Decent autofocus. A6000 has 179 focal points, more than any DSLR in the world. The new Sony A7R II, 399 focal points, more than any DSLR. These myths that mirrorless cameras can't do amazing things are just that they're myths and completely untrue.
If they want something, so it's insanely expensive, and I don't care if you're skinny.
Insanely expensive. A6000 is $500–600. The most expensive Sony camera on the market, full frame, mind you, full frame is $2,500. They have full frames that the A7 is $1,000. The A7 is $1,000. Last time I checked, Nikon and Canon don't have full frames for $1,000. I don't know how you could possibly say they're insanely expensive.
A little anorexic girl with tiny little fingers the size of pencils. And mirrorless is still a true pain in the crotch that no pro wants to mess with, unless you're a sellout. Now, if you're a sellout, then a mirrorless camera is definitely the way to go, like Jason Lanier. I'll get to him in a second in his video and give you a...
I will say this to you. I do appreciate you pronouncing my name correctly. I really do appreciate that. Many people butcher it. You said it correctly, and I really appreciate that. Kudos to you, brother. No pro wants to mess with a mirrorless. I've never in my career had an easier time shooting than with a mirrorless camera. Never. Shooting mirrorless has made my job exponentially easier. And anyone who tells you that you shouldn't want to make your job easier is quite frankly an unmitigated idiot. Your jobs, throughout the history of time, we have looked for ways to innovate that have made our jobs easier. I mean, it's like saying we shouldn't use a tow truck to pull a car, we should pull it with horses. Makes no sense. If you can make your job easier, you make it easier.
Link to his video. It's the most heinous sellout video on YouTube. It's got like 500,000 hits, and I don't begrudge him. His photography is awesome, but he knows he's lying. And there's two types of untruths, things that aren't true. There's the ignorance, the agnosis, or in the ancient Prakrit avidya, or agnosis, that's of a baby. You know, sticks its hand on a hot burner, burns, and says, oh, the poor little baby, it didn't know any better. And then there's the other type of untruth where someone knows it's untrue, but what they're doing is pimping their soul out for money for a huge corporate shill.
No, my soul's still here. Ain't pimped it out to anybody, buddy. My soul's still intact. Sony ain't giving me no money for some big, huge corporate shill. Just hasn't happened. Sorry to break the news to you.
And the video that I'm going to give you a link to, and I suggest you watch it, and try to keep a keen eye. I've seen it myself 3 times over many months.
Thank you. Appreciate the views.
I don't begrudge the guy for making $1 million off of Sony. If that's...
Good Lord, do I wish I made $1 million off of Sony. I really, really wish I did. Sony, if you can cut me a check for $1 million, I'll swim with orcas. I'll do whatever you want. So if you can cut me a check for $1 million, it's on, baby.
This deal, fine. Anybody wants to line their pockets, go for it. You know, you got a wife and kids. I don't know if you got a wife and kids. I don't care.
No
the point is that
pockets.
he knows better and he's being a shill. I mean, he's just pimping it out. I mean, if you like the looks like the Sony NX system and like the A7 II and the homogeneous integrated systems that will do everything for you other than wipe your ass, and you don't have any DSLR skills and...
By the way, Sony engineers, if you could figure out a way for the cameras to make that happen, that last part, that'd be awesome.
Fine, mirrorless is the way to go. I mean, huge cons in the arena of mirrorless.
What are the cons?
I mean, they cost a lot more. In
That's
many cases, the EVS costs more and it doesn't exist. There are not many specialty lenses. Of course, you can adapt a lot of lenses.
Let me talk about lenses real quick. When I first started shooting Sony, there were 4 full-frame E-mount lenses. There are currently 9. By the end of this year, there will be 16. Sony is pumping tons of money into their lenses because they know that's the future. They know without the lenses, it's not going to work. And if they didn't do the lenses, I wouldn't be with Sony. Another point on lenses, since we're talking, and he talked about adapters. The new A7R II with a Metabones adapter makes it possible for Canon users to use all of their Canon glass. And I know I have bagged on Metabones adapters because the way that they currently work with the current A7 cameras, no way, no. The way that the A7R II, because of the new sensor, will work, it's amazing. I've watched my buddies use live demos with the A7R II prototypes. You can use your Canon lenses with the Metabones adapter, full autofocus, and it's awesome. So Canon, I think you got a problem on your hands.
And you don't see anybody on the sidelines of a sporting gig, you know, with a 300mm 2.8 with a mirrorless camera.
That may be true. Mirrorless may not be the best option for sports photography. How many of us are shooting NFL games? Raise your hand. I've never shot one. How many of us shoot NBA games? I shot one for fun. How many of us shoot NHL hockey? The amount of photographers, again, that shoot professional sports, 2% of photographers. So if mirrorless isn't the best option for sports photography, that's fine. It doesn't mean mirrorless suck. It means you have to find the right camera for you and your genre of photography.
You know, you're not using it for birding or for astrophotography. You're not using...
Yes, you could use it for birding. The A6000 shoots 11 frames a second, 179 focal points. One of the hardest things about shooting birds is focusing. Astrophotography, I can post shots that I've taken of the Milky Way with the A7 cameras. Absolutely astounding. So to say that you couldn't use it for those 2 purposes is just ignorant.
For any real professional skills. I'm sorry.
Now, he says you can't use it for any real professional skills. I think I personally post the most videos in the world of a professional photographer using his gear in real environments, real shoots. There's tons of photographers posting videos, but most of them aren't real shoots. 90% of my videos are real shoots. So to say that I'm not using them on real shoots or that I'm not using them for real professional purposes is incredibly blind.
That's just the way it is. I mean, this Shill and Sellout and a few others like them that are working for Olympus. Of course, Olympus is on the way out, but Sony and specifically Sony. I mean, Sony's got a dog leash right around his neck, but he asked them to put the neck there. They bought his fanny because they wanted a pro DSLR shooter and impress people. When, you know, kind of dumb people go like, oh God, this guy's a professional shooter. Look at his portfolio. He's got to know what he's talking about. He's talking about why he switched from Nikon to Sony mirrorless. So he's got, I mean, look at his shots. They're so good. He admits, I mean, right at the video, at 22 minutes and 40 seconds, he goes, Sony, why aren't you sponsoring me? And of course, they ended up sponsoring him. Now they own his ass.
Now, you got to keep in mind when you contradict yourself when you're making a video. You said Sony approached me and paid me off, but now you're admitting that I asked Sony. So which is it? The chicken or the egg? Did I ask them or did they ask me? Well, I'm telling you, I produced the videos, put them out there, Sony noticed me, and they asked me to the table, and here I am, as I explained in the beginning of the video. So again, you say you can't use them for professional purposes. I just placed 5 Honors of Excellence with WPPI 2015, all with Sony mirrorless. All with Sony mirrorless. I received Awards of Excellence, Honors of Excellence with WPPI in years past with Nikon. Strangely enough, when I submitted images with Sony, I still received recognition. So to say that you can't use them for professional purposes is, I know I don't want to overuse the word ignorant, but it's just ignorant.
Own his ass, heart and soul. They've got a dog leash right around his neck. But unlike a child that does things out of ignorance, I mean, he did this knowingly and lied. Just flat out bleeping lied. He talks about theft. Well, I don't give a damn. He talks about, if you get a pro DSLR, you know, your camera can get stolen because people think it's every professional out there's got insurance on their camera. That's no reason to go mirrorless.
This tells me he doesn't shoot much. Of course I have insurance on my cameras, but what happens when you're on location, which many times I fly all over the world, I'm on location. If my gear gets stolen, I can't get new gear fast enough to do the shoot. You guys just can't think along the lines of insurance. You have to think along the lines of practicality as to how you're going to do your job. I can only do my job if I have gear in my hands. If that gear is stolen, I'm screwed. Why do I prefer mirrorless over DSLRs for the theft issue? Well, it's quite simple. If I carry a small camera in my hand and I'm walking around, I'm less of a target. Sometimes I'm urban exploring, like, look at this place. I'm in places that aren't the best place in the world. And you can attract attention. You have tons of gear out, attract attention, sometimes from the wrong people. You carry smaller cameras, makes life a lot easier for you. I was in Ethiopia. They stopped us because of my Nikon gear. They wouldn't let us through customs because of my Nikon gear. When I had the Sony gear, when they saw the Sony gear, they just let the Sony gear go right through. And the Nikon gear, they stopped us through customs and kept us there for an hour. It does matter. Just because it doesn't matter to you or anyone else listening doesn't mean it shouldn't be important to me. I know what I need better than you know what I need. So don't pretend that these reasons aren't valid.
Well, if I got a mirrorless, it looks kind of cheap. He usually says that. If I got a mirrorless, it looks cheap, but I can go to like third world countries and they won't steal my stuff. It's like, that's your argument for a mirrorless camera? Give me a friggin' break.
That was my argument for why I chose mirrorless, not for mirrorless cameras in general. That's why I shoot mirrorless.
He says, well, I intimidate some of my subjects with those big cameras, and it's good for me to use mirrorless. Are you kidding me?
Well, this one you just have flat out wrong. I never said I intimidate my clients with DSLRs. Actually, what I said in the video, and you really should watch my videos a little bit better if you're going to make a video of your own about them, is pros like to intimidate other photographers with their big lenses and big cameras. Had nothing to do with clients. That's just a completely false statement.
Okay, let's pretend this is a Sony A7. Okay, here we go. Let's adapt it. Okay, here we go. There's that. Almost have to zoom in to get it. Okay. Oh yes, mirrorless is so. Oh, you forgot about the flash for your mirrorless. And he actually goes on later. Well, the A7 II can use like a Nikon speed. Okay, let's stick that on. Oh my God, isn't that so much smaller than a DSLR? Kiss my ass. It's ridiculous. And he says the technology in the.
One thing I do want to make clear, I own a patent on "that's ridiculous." You can't say that. That's my line. Just like fabulous and ridiculous, those are mine. Fabulous. So if you're going to say it, send me a check.
Nikon isn't up to par. What, you mean the little BS features? Like, I mean, Nikon has it now so far as Wi-Fi.
Okay, so first he says that it's a BS feature, but now Nikon has it. That's kind of funny. Wi-Fi is not a BS feature.
But there's some other really dinky BS features. Now here's a list of 10 things he says about why you should buy mirrorless. And he's lying out of his fanny, you know? I love Sony. I've got 3 Sony cameras, okay? I love my most recent purchase was upgrade to DSLR X100 Mark II. I own the Mark III now. I mean, it's a great little sucker. But I mean, I can confuse that with any professional use. Oh, it's...
The RX100 is not a professional camera, my friend. So no one's confusing it. The only person that's confused is you.
Well, professional, it's all about getting the shot. I mean, I've said that before. The only thing that makes it true professional is not the equipment that they're...
Wow, you just contradicted yourself again. You said that what makes a true professional is getting the shot. It's not about the gear. That completely wipes out everything you're saying. Because earlier on in your video, you said that no true professional can get professional quality results with mirrorless. You got to be careful. You got to stop contradicting yourself, my friend. I know you're a super fan, so I'm trying to be cool with you, but please, you got to stop contradicting yourself.
Using. Obviously, a professional photographer is one with compositional master skills and is an expert at light manipulation. So I'm not begrudging him of using a mirrorless camera to get professional results. But don't go and tell me that mirrorless is better than a DSLR.
I never said mirrorless was better than a DSLR. I said mirrorless was better for me. Now, I will say the innovation on mirrorless is better than DSLRs, but whether or not a mirrorless is better for you is your choice. It's not mine. It's your choice. Don't be mad at me just because I went mirrorless. It has nothing to do with me what you shoot. And I don't get paid if you shoot DSLRs or mirrorless. So, guys, pick what's best for you.
This is a one-trick pony, okay? I can do so much more with a cheap old 5000 series Nikon DSLR than you can with your Sony, and you know it.
Now it's getting good. So here's what I'm going to say to you. Let's put that theory to the test. Let's do a shootout, you and me. Let's do a shootout, you and me. Now, I'm being sincere here. Let's not play games. If you're going to put out a video and say you can do 1,000 things more, 1,000 times more with your Nikon D5000, let's put it to the test. Let's meet up. We'll meet in a mutual location. We'll shoot. We'll see who can do more. We'll see what cameras can do more. Friendly, very friendly. You can bring your video crew. I'll bring my video crew. We'll have 2 camera crews filming us, and we'll see what's what. I think that'd be so much fun.
You know it. You're a liar. You're nothing but a liar.
If I'm a liar, don't turn down my offer. If I'm a liar, let's do this.
So he goes over a list of 10 things. First he says price. And he keeps mentioning the D4S, the $6,000 camera. It's like, are you freaking kidding me?
I mentioned the D4S because I was comparing the D4S to the A7S because of the ISO capabilities. And yes, the D4S has more functions than the A7S does. But when it comes to the A7S, it kills the D4S in ISO. That's why I compared the two, guys.
I mean, what are you ass monkey? I mean, what's wrong with you? So, DSLRs are so much more expensive. I mean, he's a liar. Do you know what the price of a Sony A7 is with lenses is?
$2,500.
You know the spectrum of lenses you can put on that thing? I mean, are you kidding me? You talk about price. He keeps comparing the Sony.
Lenses on any camera manufacturer are expensive. Good lenses are expensive. Sony's very comparable. So, again, misguided statement.
Mirrorless, he mentions Nikon D4S several times. It's like, well, I can buy like 3 Sony. Well, who the hell is buying Nikon D4Ss? Have you recommended me buy that $6,000 camera to anybody? You know, if you could write it off on your taxes, price doesn't matter. You know, it's part of your pro shooting gig. So what?
So pros, I guess, shouldn't shoot Nikon D4Ss either then. I really am trying to make heads or tails of his comments.
He's ridiculous. He's lost his mind. He talks about weight. Weight? My ass! Why don't you throw this lens on your Sony A7, then a flash there? Oh God, is that going to fit in your pocket? How small is that? How lightweight is that? Point 3 talks about electronics.
Okay, weight does matter. This entire bag has 6 camera bodies in it. Weight and size absolutely matter. I have carpal tunnel issues, and it goes back to when I was a 21-year-old kid forklift driver, and I would be scooping cans of plastic for a medical manufacturer, parts manufacturer. I had carpal tunnel, workers' comp even. And so it does matter. Lots of pros these days, older pros, complain of tennis elbow, back issues. If you guys don't think repetitive weight matters, you're mistaken. It does matter. Anytime you can do more with less, you absolutely should.
Electronic viewfinder. That's your plus, electronic viewfinder over.
Yeah, I think an electronic viewfinder over an optical viewfinder is a huge advantage. You know why? You can actually see, with an optical viewfinder, you're seeing what just the naked eye sees, okay? With an electronic viewfinder, you're actually seeing what you're going to get before you take the picture, because you're changing the settings, and you can actually see the shot, how it's going to come out. See, when you shoot with a DSLR, it's the opposite. You shoot, and then you look to make sure that you got a good shot. With a mirrorless, you know before you take the shot that it's going to be awesome. We are paid to take great shots. So being able to see that you're going to get a great shot before you take it is a huge advantage. So anyone who thinks otherwise, I don't think they shoot very often.
Yeah, optical viewfinder? That's not a positive, it's a negative. Talks about tilt screens, number 4. Well, the D750 has a tilt screen. I'm pretty sure I got by for 20 years of professional photography shooting weddings and other things without a bloody tilt screen. How long?
I think the tilt screen being added to professional bodies is, and I know it's simple, I know it is, but I think it's one of the most profound improvements in pro bodies that we've seen in years. And I know it's just a tilt screen. And I was that pro years and years ago who thought, I don't need a tilt screen. Guys, if you haven't used one, you don't know what you're talking about. There's a reason why Nikon came out with the D750. It's because they were trying to answer Sony. What happened? They had lens flare issues. The Wi-Fi on it is slower than the Pony Express. They did add a tilt screen to it, which is pretty cool. But it's like a huge mirrorless camera is really what it is. So I don't know why Nikon, it would behoove them just to take that technology and put it into a full-frame mirrorless Nikon camera. For the life of me, I don't know. I do not understand why Nikon and Canon are not moving forward with mirrorless. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Have you been shooting without a tilt screen? I mean, are you kidding me? That's a big advantage. Oh, well, I can stick the camera over my head and bring the tilt screen down and... Oh, well, Jesus Christ. Why don't you just stand on a ladder if you need to do that? Or stick it on a pole. You know, you use a wide angle, you point it where you need to, you set your depth of field like a real professional does, and you shoot it that way.
So let me get this straight. Just want to make sure I understand you. It is easier, you're proposing, for me to use either a ladder, so I should run and set this up at a wedding, stand on top of it, create a huge scene, and or put my camera on the top of a pole and shoot. And of course you don't like the Sony function where I can actually control it with my phone, so that really wouldn't work for me to be able to fire it. So if I'm using it on a pole, how do I take pictures? So yeah, so instead of using the tilt screen, I should use these. Doesn't make any sense, brother.
Oh, that's the big advantage of mirrorless? A tilt screen? It talks about...
Guys, when I can just do this, that's a huge advantage compared to using a ladder or a pole or a monopod. Come on, guys, let's be real about things here.
Focus peaking and zebra pattern on the mirrorless. It's insane. Pros know how to expose for highlights and shadows. He's like... lying through his teeth. He's been shooting professionally for a few years, not that long.
So if we shouldn't use peaking or zebra, why have photographers since the start of time used light meters? Why have they used histograms? Because they need tools aiding them in exposure. So saying that we shouldn't use focus peaking or zebra is again just misguided.
Photography is actually really, really good.
Thank you.
But he's a sellout. And he talks about memory card compatibility as point number 6. I mean, are you crazy? You're worried about memory card compatibility? What sort of argument is that for mirrorless? Point 7, he talks...
Okay, memory card compatibility. Now, again, these reasons are for me. I shoot with Sony video cameras, Sony action cams, Sony mirrorless, Sony DSLTs, and I've shot with Sony, except for my DSLRs. I've shot with Sony for years, so being able to use those across all those different types of cameras, for me personally, is a huge deal. Again, these were my 10 reasons. Mine.
About Wi-Fi uploading to his phone. Oh my God! Well, a lot of the newer Nikons do have Wi-Fi, D7200, D750, and that's your big selling point for mirrorless? Wi-Fi compatibility? I'm pretty sure that the rest of us have been shooting for decades now without Wi-Fi compatibility.
You know what? He really sounds like those guys who decried the advent of digital photography, who said film would never go out, and look what happened. All I can tell you guys is Kodak created the first digital camera. Kodak was terrified of cannibalizing their film camera market, so they refused to push the digital cameras. Kodak went bankrupt. Think about that.
Are you so happy that you're going to immediately Facebook it and tweet the pictures instantly right on the freaking spot to everybody on Earth that you can't do that? That's right, don't you have a laptop you can slide your SD card into and send it to people?
So again, he's choosing the harder option. Instead of me being able to just automatically send it to my phone, I should bring my laptop on location, bring a card reader, import the images, get a Wi-Fi card, connect to the Wi-Fi like with a Sprint card or a Verizon wireless card, and then upload it. It is literally 20 times faster using the app on my phone with my camera to send the pictures automatically. You guys, we live in a social media age where we are transmitting images instantaneously. Our clients are at events where they're transmitting images instantaneously. We're at weddings where the guests steal our thunder because they post images 10 times faster than we do, and then we complain about it. I don't care if your images are better. It really does matter about getting them out first. If you're a press photographer, you understand the importance of getting your images out immediately. If you're any type of an event photographer, getting those images out immediately. So the fact that we have people saying that we shouldn't welcome this kind of technology is dumb. There's no other word for it. There are, but I'm trying to be nice.
That's the big advantage of mirrorless? Kiss my ass, are you crazy? And he talks about live view on the phone. Stupid. Well, I can take a shot from my phone. Oh, well, that's great. This is what every professional wants to do. They want to stick a camera up in the corner, open up their iPhone or their Samsung, their Android, and take a shot from across the room. Well, I'm sure composition and exposure and metering are really good there. I mean, you can do a whole lot of tweaking on your iPhone.
Again, this just shows he doesn't shoot. That's not how it works. You set your camera up on your tripod. You set your composition, you set your exposure, you set everything, and then you go wherever you want in the room and you fire from your phone. That's how it works. That's what's amazing. And an example of that is painting with light. I'll put my camera on a 30-second exposure, and then I'll walk to somewhere far in the frame to where I couldn't get normally, and I'll walk all the way over there, and then from my phone I can fire it. And I can actually watch on my phone as I'm walking, and I can see how it's painting. For you to say that there aren't applications for that, again, is somebody who isn't shooting a lot or doesn't shoot what I shoot, because that is another statement that just is completely illogical.
That's ridiculous. Point number 9 he makes, he talks about cross-brand compatibility for flashes. Well, so what? Who gives a damn? The same thing is true with Nikon or Canon. There's no advantage there, so that's a moot point.
At workshops, I have people try flashes from Canon and Nikon on their cameras. It always doesn't work. It doesn't always work is what I should say. On the Sonys, you pop anything on there, it fires. So yeah, that's a big deal when you're sick of gear that's so proprietary you can't use it on anything else.
And number 10, he talks about expanded focus. It's a digital zoom for focusing. Well, so what, you got live view on your Nikon. What's wrong with that? Don't you know how to set depth of field and actually focus something?
Well, you already admitted I'm a wonderful photographer and that my work is great, so you know that I do. So I wouldn't say something unless I really believed in it. Yeah, it's a huge deal to be able to use expanded focus and to zoom into your subject and to be able to pinpoint exactly the finite focal point for them, especially when you're shooting at 1.4 or 1.8. Expanded focus is a great option, and I don't know why Canon and Nikon don't use it. Ignoring technology will only get you swept up and make you old news, and I don't want that to happen to photographers. You know how many film photographers went out of business when digital came around? It wasn't because, oh, all these new digital photographers. It's because the film photographers refused to adapt. And the same thing's going to happen here for a lot of the DSLR users. I'm not saying mirrorless is going to wipe out DSLRs. What I am saying is mirrorless is a player and it's here to stay. And if you don't understand that, you're probably going to be on the wrong side of history.
He's smarter than this. He's lying. I said at 22 minutes and 40 seconds into the video, he says, Sony, why aren't you sponsoring me? Sui. God, what a sellout. What a sellout.
I do have to thank you for that last line, because when my wife and I watched that, we laughed really hard. I love the pig sounds too. Please include them in more videos.
Just a stinking sellout. I mean, I bought a Sony a7 II, for a reason, and I returned it for 1,000 more reasons, and I kind of figured that would be the case.
I think you bought it just so you could say you bought it. I don't think you bought it for any other reason.
I wanted to give it a whirl. But I mean, this sort of pimping, and if I were Sony, I'd buy his ass too. And they bought some other people's fannies. So it's like, let's take a professional photographer and offer him a crap load of money.
Crap load, if you mean $0, then yes, they offered me a crap load of money.
And then we'll shove it in their face, and then we'll make them convert. Secretly they'll use their DSLRs when they're not on camera. But they'll, every time they're out and about or they're behind the camera, they're going to have our mirrorless with them. So let's rent their butt permanently. Let's throw a dog collar around. These people will sell us so many mirrorless cameras. And that's exactly what Sony does. I mean, if you're...
This is the dumbest thing you've said, and you've said some whoppers. But to say that I shoot with Nikon professionally, but then I shoot with Sony when the cameras are on, dude, I mean, how many videos do I produce of me at real weddings, real workshops? There isn't a photographer on this planet who's more transparent. I invite people to come to my shoots, my private shoots, my commercial shoots. I've shot professionally, I've shot commercially with Sony, I've shot weddings with Sony, I've shot my workshops with Sony. I do 2 to 3 workshops a month with Sony cameras, producing professional results. I have videos all over the internet of me shooting with Sony cameras at real weddings. To say that I use Nikon on real shoots is so profoundly ignorant. And again, I'm going to make another offer to you. First, I hope you take me up on the shootout. I doubt you will, but I hope you do. And the second thing is, you're welcome to come to any of my shoots. Let me know when you're coming. Just that way, you don't walk up and I hear this, crazy sui voice. But if you're going to come, just let us know. And you can actually come, you know what? Come to one of my workshops. On me, come to one of my workshops. You can see me use them. No problem, brother. Because I want to show you that I really do use these. Now, I don't need to do that, but I want to show how transparent I am. And unlike a lot of other professional photographers out there, I allow assistants, I allow people who don't even know me to come to my shoots. So to say that statement, that really makes you look like you really don't know what you're talking about. And I'm trying to be nice.
A big corporation like Sony, and I love them. That's what you would do too. That's what I would do, and that's what they did to him. I mean, he sold himself, though. He asked Sony to sponsor him, and it's like, oh God, we got a professional here. He wants to pimp himself out to us. Let's do that.
He just said if Sony came to him, he'd do the same thing. I don't know what else to say, dude. I mean, you say you would do what I did, but then you're making a video about how I'm a pimp and a sellout. I don't even need to say much more, because to say that you would do what I've done is just idiotic.
It's ridiculous. Mirrorless has its place. I mean, I ultimately despise it. Why? Because it's a one-trick pony. It does more than one trick, obviously, but it can't.
So first you say it's a one-trick pony, and then you say obviously it does more than one trick. What are those tricks? There's lots of tricks. There's really no tricks. It's just an awesome piece of camera, an awesome piece of gear, and I still love DSLRs. Don't let people fool you and think I don't. I just love new technology, and all the new technology is in mirrorless cameras.
Do 1/1000th of what a DSLR can. It's like, oh my God, look how small it is. Oh great, let's throw the lens and the flat. Well, that's really small right now, isn't it?
1/1000th of what a mirrorless can do. Again, please, I'm begging you, take me up on my offer. I am begging you, take me up on my offer for the shootout.
What is a mirrorless compared to DSLR? A mirrorless camera is like some teenage boy going, oh my God, Paris Hilton, she's so hot. You know, it's just superficially awesome. Then you realize the broad is worthless. She can't cook, she can't clean. I know you're going to think this is sexist, but it's...
It is really sexist. You should be ashamed of yourself for talking about women like that. You really should. I'm not trying to get up on a grandstand here, but you refer to women as broads. That all women are good for is cooking and cleaning, and probably something else I'm assuming you want. Dude, find a cave.
Only an analogy, for Christ's sake, so bear with me. She can't cook, she can't clean, she can't do a damn thing. She's like, oh God, she's so beautiful. Yeah, but she just sits around, polishes her nails all day long. She's worthless. She sits there like a pretty piece of art, like a fine china doll, sitting on the shelf. Worthless!
Check my shots, bro. They ain't worthless. And if you come and do that shootout with me, I guarantee you my shots will blow you away.
Like, oh gosh, she's so pretty. Then you realize you actually are more pragmatic and you want something that can do something. I know this sounds sexist, okay? It's an analogy only, for Christ's sakes. And you're...
If you're producing a video, why put sexist stuff in there? It makes no sense.
realize, like, oh, I'd like to have a DSLR, something that can actually do something.
He's showing a picture. He's showing a picture of a woman with photoshopped arms of, like, Hulk Hogan. I just don't know what to say.
Here's a big, fine, beefy German girl. Something that can actually do everything. You know?
Looks like you got it for the big, beefy German girls.
God. So, that's my position on mirrorless. Catch you later.
So I want to thank you for your conversation, angry photographer. You clearly are angry, and I hope that, you know, I've been listening a lot to that new song by Megan Trainor and that Chris Puth, I think his name. It's Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On. You know, that's what I want to say to you. Now, I know kind of you're a little bit weird on the whole German beefy girl thing, so I want to be careful, but let's just be friends. Let's be friends. I know you're a super fan. You told me you love my work. I think somewhere along the lines with me switching, you got upset at me, and I'm extending an olive branch to you. I want you to know that I love you, I care about you, and I also want all viewers to know, guys, just look at technology, regardless of the body it comes in. It doesn't matter what body it comes in, it matters how you use it. Gear photography is much more than about gear. Photography is about creation. And if you find the tools that help you to create your artistry the best, that's going to make you the best artist possible. And for me, those tools are mirrorless. So until next time, I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know what questions you guys have. Anytime I speak about gear, it sets off a firestorm of comments. And all I'm trying to do is, I said this in my 10 Reasons video, let's be civil about it. It didn't happen. And that's kind of the way it is with gear. But I hope this has helped more than anything, and I hope it's cleared up some misconceptions out there. I will do my best to answer any questions that you guys have. So until next time, keep shooting, never give up on your dreams. If you guys have questions or comments, or please let me know. I'd love to hear them. And like I always say, regardless of what you shoot, remember, you only have one chance to get it right. Talk to you later. Bye.